Sam sat at the bar, sipping his Bud Light diet beer, as his 13-year-old son called it, making fun of his father while casually watching the game on the big screen. He looked around and counted. The sports bar had 26 screens showing 12 different sports. At least 2 of them he didn't even know existed. He shrugged. No wonder no one talks anymore. Everyone is too busy watching others do things to do things themselves. Smartphones, TVs in bars, why even bother with physical communication? While talking about this, and without even realizing the irony, he took out his phone to check the time. Damn, Jesse was late. He was never late. What the hell? By the time Jesse finally showed up, Sam was already on his second bottle. Jesse sat down on the chair next to Sam without ceremony or comment, just nodded and motioned for the bartender to order a beer. "What will you drink, sir?" asked the bartender. Jesse looked at what his friend was drinking, grimaced as he realized what it was, and said, "Well, certainly not this horse urine that this idiot drinks. I think I'll take Sam Adams. It's cold outside, that's fine." The bartender nodded approvingly, trying his best not to make the same face he'd made from Sam's drink, and went to the counter with beer taps along the wall to pour his order. Jesse turned to Sam and said, "So what's there that couldn't wait? I know it's Thanksgiving weekend, but I'll see you on Monday in the office. What happened, dude?" Sam's face scrunched up at the word dude. 18 months in Los Angeles, and his friend came back with a speech filled with dude and other California buzzwords. It wouldn't have bothered him if Jesse wasn't 48, bald, and certainly didn't look like a surfer. Jesse still looked great, he didn't have an ounce of excess fat, but he was also definitely in the more mature category, as Sam's son described his father. This description fit both Jesse and Sam perfectly. Sam shook his head for a second and said, "Let's sit in the booth. We'll need some privacy for this conversation." He stood up, heading towards the row of booths on the other side of the bar. Jesse took his beer and followed him, saying, "Ooh, now you intrigue me. Secrets and conspiracies. Do you want to search me to make sure I'm not eavesdropping?" Sam just threw an irritated glance at Jesse. He had a difficult explanation ahead of him, and Jesse's jokes weren't helping. He mentally prepared himself to say what he had to say, knowing that it would destroy his friend. "Just sit down, Jesse. There's something we need to talk about, and I don't think you'll like it." Jesse stopped and looked at Sam, trying to read him. "Doesn't sound very good. Okay, I don't like it. Well, go ahead, McDuff." They sat down in the farthest booth against the wall, 2 from the nearest occupied one. "Come on, you're in charge here. Get started." Sam took a deep breath, contemplating his thoughts and how to express what he had to say. Jesse and he had been friends for over 15 years, on and off. They were college buddies, met by chance at a party 3 years after graduation, then worked together at a small advertising agency. They started spending time together, their wives became friends, and 5 years ago, they started a business together. Unlike many business partners, they managed to maintain friendship. They even went on vacation together twice, once on a cruise and once to the Bahamas. Their business has been good for the last couple of years. They got a marketing contract for a small independent film shot in Los Angeles, but screened at the Sundance Film Festival, and they came up with a funny and original marketing campaign for pennies. When the film won the Oscar for short film, they were thanked in their acceptance speech. Suddenly, the phones were ringing off the hook. After signing 2 new and lucrative contracts, they looked at each other, got very drunk, and decided there was no other choice but to open an office in Los Angeles. Jesse volunteered to go and run it, hire people, and stay there until the office could function without constant supervision, at which point he and his wife Deborah would return to Minnesota. Sam had to keep things going at home until Jesse returned. It was a relatively easy decision. Sam and his wife Janelle had children in school, but Jesse did not. Deborah had always had an interest in traveling, something Janelle didn't have, so they both didn't mind the decision. Jesse and Deborah moved to Beverlywood, Los Angeles, set up an office in Santa Monica, and 22 months later returned triumphantly to their 4-room home in Stillwater, Minneapolis. They returned almost 3 months ago, and Jesse went right back to work. Sam was worried that there might be differences. They had both been relatively independent for the last couple of years, and working together again might be difficult. But neither of his fears came to fruition. They quickly worked together again. They seemed to have the kind of friendship where you could go a long time without seeing each other and then just pick up where you left off. Of course, they were in constant contact and saw each other several times during Jesse's journey. And then Janelle came home from the party, cornered Sam after the kids went to bed, and they exchanged words. Now he sat here with Jesse, his old friend, trying to find the right words to express and discuss an extremely explosive situation. Okay, well, uh, okay. I don't know how to say this without being damn direct. We're advertisers, but this isn't Mad Men, and this isn't 1965, and if I start beating around the bush, I'll be stalling for the sake of it, Sam said, fully aware that he was already doing this. Sam's speech was clearly simpler and more flowery, as his mother-in-law once described it after meeting him for the first time. The more awkward or emotional he was, the more often he cursed. This was another reason why he stayed home and Jesse went to Hollywood. Although Sam was the better negotiator, willing to go to extremes, Jesse was more suitable for communication and initial meetings. Sam was much straighter than Jesse, and that's what Jesse liked about his friend with him. It was always clear where you stood, although some might consider him aggressive, even those who knew him well. You may not know, but Janelle is in. Well, it's like a book club. Only they go further than just reading. Personally, this seems complete nonsense to me, but you know how women are. It's kind of like what they started in college. They still meet, pick a book, talk about it, and do all the stupid things women do when they have too much free time. You know what I mean? He rolled his eyes at Jesse, who nodded in understanding. In general, this club goes beyond reading, you know. They try to, well, participate in what happens in the book. I know it sounds stupid as hell, but they're having fun with it, and it's all safe, so okay, let them have fun. Participate in the book? Jesse asked, making air quotes. Yes, well, I told you it was stupid. But if the book is, like, about police work, they go to a police bar and talk about the book, surrounded by real cops. If the book is about horses, they go to a restaurant with a rural theme. I don't know, explaining this to you makes it seem even more stupid than when she told me about it. All in all. And so, the last book they decided to read was Dracula. Original version written by Bram Stoker. It's full of all sorts of creepy nonsense, so I'm told, against the backdrop of some romantic old world. Sam had a hard time hiding his disgust. And apparently the only place they could talk about it turned out to be some gothic nightclub called Ground Zero. This is a place for goths where all sorts of strange events take place. Night of leather and lace, bondage night, I don't know, doesn't matter. Jesse grinned and took a long sip of his beer. Yes, well, there you go. The tricky part. Janelle said it wasn't a place she would normally visit, so she was surprised to see someone she knew there. She saw Deborah there. Your wife, Deborah. She was doing something there. Jesse's smile disappeared instantly. And she, damn, Jesse, this is so hard to tell. Well, according to Janelle, she wasn't alone. She had a friend, man, a very close friend, as Janelle described. There were intimate moments. Sam clearly had a hard time telling this. He couldn't look Jesse in the eye. Janelle said Deborah wasn't dressed like the Deborah we all know and love. She was wearing skimpy clothes, and it was definitely her. Janelle said she watched for a long time to make sure. It was definitely her. She didn't approach her because, as Janelle said, what do you even say in a situation like that? She didn't want to be in a position where she had to hide something. You know how Janelle is when it comes to secrets. She can't keep them. You know it. It would have exploded in her and my face. The story of how Janelle accidentally revealed the secret of Jesse's surprise birthday party 4 years ago has become legendary. It wasn't so funny then, but now everyone could smile, remembering that incident. Typical Janelle, that's how it was perceived now. Jesse sat expressionless. Sam leaned over, placing his hand on his friend's shoulder, and looking at him intently. I'm really sorry I had to tell you this, friend. Is it true? I love Deborah, but I think that something is wrong here. You need to know this. I love you too much to remain silent. Jesse, staring into space, suddenly came to life, hitting the table with his fist. Damn it. I'll kill her, he said, gritting his teeth, avoiding Sam's gaze. Jesse, I know this is hard, but try to be calm, old friend. As calmly as possible. We'll get through this. Together. No matter what happens, whatever you decide to do, we are with you. You know it. Janelle considers you the brother she never had. Sam's concern was palpable. Jesse took a deep breath, calmed down, looked at the glass in front of him, and then impulsively took it. Sam expected him to throw him, but instead Jesse drank it all in one gulp. And suddenly the anger disappeared. Just disappeared. Jesse seemed to be exhausted. Sam was startled by this sudden change. Whatever, he definitely didn't expect this. Okay, well, that was unexpected. It's a shame Janelle had to see that, Sam. Thanks for telling me. I'll deal with this. There was a pause. Sam looked at Jesse, wondering if he was showing signs of hidden rage as the realization of the situation sunk in, and Jesse just sat there, staring at the empty glass. Suddenly Jesse said, "So, whose turn is it now?" Sam was stunned, surprised, confused, and worried all at the same time. Jesse, do you understand what I told you? What was Deborah doing? Well, yes. She dressed like a woman of easy virtue, danced provocatively with other guys, and did not behave the way a wife should behave, right? Janelle saw it, and now you're telling it to me, right? Well, yes. Sam's voice became questioning. Should I repeat the beer? Jesse asked, pointing to Sam's glass. What? Oh yeah, I guess. Jesse got up and walked towards the bar. Sam sat there, stunned. He then grabbed his phone and dialed his home number. There was a fast, hissing, one-sided conversation in short phrases. Janelle, listen, I'm here. I told him everything. He got angry for a second, and then immediately calmed down and continued as if I had told him that the Minnesota Twins had signed a young player. He orders me a beer, for God's sake. Did you really see what you saw? No, he doesn't look that angry. Don't know. Yes, I don't know either. Ask him yourself. Of course, I'll just ask him about his successes in sex. Yes, of course, Janelle. No problem. I'm sure he'll be extremely open about this. Wait, he's coming back. I'll call you later. By the time Jesse returned to the table, the phone had been put away and Sam had already put on a fake smile. But the smile became more sincere when he saw that Jesse had brought 22-ounce glasses and not the weak 16-ounce ones. Many years ago, they had spent 3 months in England working on a business trip for an advertising company in Manchester, and once one gets used to a British pint, 16-ounce American pints always seem a bit small. A 22-ounce glass is already a deal. They both took a long sip of their beer, and finally Sam asked hesitantly, "Are you okay, Jess? You seem—" Jesse sighed and then burped loudly. "Okay, Sam. Honestly, I didn't want to have this conversation, but you forced me. It would have come up someday anyway. You're my partner and friend, so, oh well, so be it." He took a deep breath, put the glass down, grabbed it with his hand from below, and began to swirl it, looking at the amber liquid inside. While we were in Los Angeles, some events happened. Deborah cheated on me. I found her. It was traumatic. Sam's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe it. After a moment, he collected his thoughts and went into good friend mode. "I'm so sorry, Jess. I didn't even know. I don't know what to say. It couldn't be Deborah. Were you absolutely sure?" Jesse looked at Sam bitterly and said quietly, "Well, they were having sex on the couch when I walked in, so yeah, pretty sure, Sam. There's no mistaking the two. I'm pretty observant about these things." Sam couldn't help but notice that despite the difficult situation, Jesse still showed his sarcastic way of expressing himself. "What did you do? I mean, you hit this guy, right? Tell me you hit him." "What's the point, Sam?" Sam couldn't believe his ears. "What? This guy had sex with your wife, Jessie. He needs to be punished. If the consequences could be avoided, I would consider it worthy of the death penalty. You can't just let this guy walk away. There's a line to be drawn here. You know that. I'm so angry right now that I want to find him and hit him myself. Well, yes, no questions asked. But if I beat him, will that somehow stop Deborah from cheating on me? She's already done it. Already crossed this line. Will it help me if I hit him? I'll hit him, anger will take over, and who knows how it will end. I will be arrested, I will end up in prison, and Deborah will remain free. What do you think she'll do? How will this be useful? Well, yes, but still. You can't just walk in and turn on damn volcanic mode and remain completely emotionless. You have to do something. Well, of course, I didn't just freeze. I took out my phone, took a few pictures, and then just walked out. I was furious. Furious. I could kill him. And her, to be honest. I was trying to get a new office up and running, and she was sleeping with some golf pro. By the way, it was a golf pro. Some trainer she took lessons from. And what next? Well, as usual. I went to the hotel. She tried to call me, I ignored her, called a lawyer, and so on. It turns out that in California, you can be seriously punished in a divorce. She could take half of my share in the company, or we would have had to go to court for a long time, which would also cost a lot of money on lawyers. Honestly, although I could happily strangle her, she would come out dry. I would essentially be paying her so she could date lovers. Well, no. Certainly. So how did you two get back together? That's the thing. While I decided the marriage was over, she didn't give up. She tried her best to meet me. And here's the trick. I resisted because I knew that if she got the meeting, I would give in. I didn't want this. But at the same time, I wanted to. And I was afraid. I was afraid to do it. And I was afraid not to go. It's not that simple, Sam. Everything seems simple when it's not you. But when it comes to you, things become much more complicated. I loved her. And I still love you. What? But she cheated on you. Sam was furious. He knew that his friend was not a weakling. They were arrested several times for hooliganism and fighting. Listen, I was thinking about just ending everything, I mean marriage. When she spoke, she still loved me, even more than before, and this sex with other people only confirmed it. She wanted to be with me, grow old with me, blah blah blah. Sex with other people had nothing to do with me. Everything is as usual, what you can hear from a cheater when he is caught red-handed. She made it clear that I was partly to blame. Jesse continued. Sam couldn't resist and interrupted him, abruptly interjecting. Oh, of course. Damn it, Jesse. Jesse slowly turned to Sam with an expression Sam couldn't read. After a short pause, Jesse said, Of course, I'm not entirely to blame. Yes, you are right. She made the decision. She broke our vows. I was not involved and was not a catalyst. Well, in a way I was. You see, I created the conditions in which this could happen. You and I both did it. The work of setting up the office was enormous. I was constantly away from home, working days and nights. Even when I was at home, I was still on my phone. In Hollywood, no matter what they say about them, they work hard. They are in the office at any time, and I had to be in touch. I won't say that I completely left Deborah, but I definitely wasn't around as often as before. We knew this from the very beginning, but it is one thing to know in advance, and quite another to experience it firsthand. Okay, we work a lot, but we also have a good rest, Sam. It's not your fault. Not our fault. It's just her trying to make you feel guilty, Sam countered. No, I'm not saying that it's entirely my fault. She betrayed me. There is no doubt about it, and she understands it too. She was literally consumed by guilt for what she had done. It hurt her how much it hurt me. As far as I understand, she didn't even think about what would happen if she was caught. It wasn't disrespecting me, it was looking for something exciting to do while I wasn't around. She swore to stay with me. She did everything she could. I would too if I were in her place. Cheerleader costume, you say? Sam suddenly imagined Deborah, with her gorgeous figure, dressing up in a short cheerleader costume before realizing that he should focus on supporting his friend. This, of course, is cool, But does it eliminate betrayal? Of course not. It can't erase the pain, Jesse replied. Oh, Sam, that hurt. It feels like the ground has been pulled out from under your feet. You begin to doubt yourself as a man. What does she really think about you? Was he better in bed? It destroys you. Destroys your soul, brother. I hope you never have to experience this. Yes, was all Sam could answer. They both took long swigs of their beer, brooding over worst-case scenarios. But then suddenly a thought popped into Sam's head. So, what I told you now. This should be the end, right? I mean, she's doing it again. You can't put up with this, can you? Well, Jesse drawled, there's more to this story. Seriously? What? How? Jesse, you know what they say. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You understand, right? Yes, Jesse sighed. So what? Briefly. Well, let's just say I let myself be convinced. Jesse shrugged his shoulders with an expression of some bitter smile on his face. Maybe I was a fool. I don't know. I love this woman, and she loves me. She is much harder on herself for what she did than I was on her. She did things like give me passwords to all her emails and phones and monitor her texts. Uploaded GPS location history and explained where she was and why. She couldn't even end my life, not because I was bad, but because her shame and guilt wouldn't let her. Although, I must say, we overcame it. Sam looked at Jesse, shocked. Too much information, but not enough. It was important to him that Jesse stayed with her, despite everything. He asked the question with his gaze, without saying a word. Yes, I know, buddy. Believe me, I screamed and raged, and she just asked for forgiveness, said that it had nothing to do with me, that it was all nonsense. At first, I think 50% of her remorse was genuine, and 50% was just regret about getting caught. But that changed over time when she realized what I was going through. I'll explain now. And so, well, 4 months passed, and she came up to me with a conversation. You see, Sam, we didn't really talk about what she was doing with this golf pro. His name was Angel Santino. Angel, can you imagine? What a damn irony. To me, he looked more like the devil. Anyway, one day, after a bottle of wine, she just started talking. She admitted that she gave it up because, Jesse paused, new sex. That's what she called it. It's euphoric when you meet someone who is interested in you. The new attitude is excitement. Can you imagine, Sam? I thought we could come up with an advertising campaign for this term. In general, she explained that for her it was not about love, but rather about exploring a new sexual partner. What he likes, what he doesn't like, what he can teach her, and what she can teach him. She said it was like leading a double life. She constantly repeated that it had nothing to do with me. It was completely separate. She just wanted to try something new. She was surprised when she realized that she had put absolutely no feeling into it. Yes, it pleased her pride, she was interested, she liked it, but leaving me was out of the question. She never wanted to do this to spite me. She didn't want to leave me. I was her number one. She would never refuse me anything or neglect me when she needs me. It was all spontaneous and unintentional, so there was never a chance that anyone else would become her priority. Jesse stopped and looked closely at Sam's face. Yes, I understand how it sounds. This all sounds like an excuse, but think about it for a second. What if it's true? What? Sam asked. Jesse, you know this is nonsense. It's just a bunch of cliches. No, Jesse said. Think about it. What if it's true? What if she could actually do this and not feel any emotion? What if it's really like she says, an extreme game of volleyball where both sides win and that's it? You are her husband. You shouldn't be her number one, you should be the only man, Sam said firmly. I don't understand how these cliches can be true. No, I thought so too. It took me a long time to comprehend this, and even longer to come to any conclusions. But the thing is, Sam, I know her. I know when she's lying well, at least most of the time. I know when she believes what she says. I know that for her I am truly the main one. I'm sure she will always leave the party with me. Until one day he doesn't leave with you, Sam answered sharply. She's already broken these rules more than once. How did she earn the credibility to do something like this? Jesse took a sip of beer and said, Sam, will Janelle ever leave a party with someone else? Of course not, Sam snorted. And I wouldn't let this happen even if she suddenly wanted to. Well, if you're sure that Janelle won't do it, why can't I be sure that Deborah won't? Because Janelle didn't cheat on me behind my back. Come on, Jesse, you can't really believe this crap. Jesse chuckled and raised his glass towards Sam, showing that he didn't hold it against him for his straightforwardness. Well made, Sam. You are right. But you see, now I know what happened. I know what she did, why she did it, and how to prevent it from happening in the future. If it's part of her nature, and as she claims, it was an extremely exciting experience for her, should I let her do it again? Only this time in very controlled circumstances. Sam froze, glass in hand, staring at Jesse in horror, gradually realizing what he was leading to. Are you saying, do you allow her to do this? He asked, stunned. Jesse shrugged with a wry smile. Listen, as you said yourself, she already did it. She may do it again, she may not. But if I am aware, if I allow it under very strict conditions, of course, then she will not hide anything and will be able to have fun while respecting all the agreements. She wants to be married to me, wants me to be her priority, and we have measures in place to make sure everything is under control, rules and so on. Despite himself, Sam was intrigued. Rules? You mean like, remain faithful? This is also a rule, right? Yes. No. Well, yes, she broke that vow. I know this. She knows this. But I'm talking about the rules that we established after everything happened so that it was a game and not treason. You see, we now have a prenuptial agreement that says that if she cheats or has sex with someone without my express permission, then she leaves with one suitcase. This was a requirement. Sam nodded, not believing what was happening, but at least admitting that such a contract was a good thing. I decide if and when she can do it, and I choose who it will be. If I say no, nothing will happen. I said no a few times just to check, and she agreed every time without any problem. She can't flirt where people she knows can see. Everything should be as confidential as possible. That's why I'm angry now she was in a place where you might expect that you wouldn't meet anyone you knew, but she did anyway. We will have a serious conversation about this. She will definitely be suspended for a couple of months. By the way, about the contract, only she signed it. I didn't sign. She didn't particularly like it, but she didn't care. She cheated, not me. She needed to sign, not me. If she wants to stay, it's her responsibility. No married man unless his wife knows and approves. No more than 4 times with one person so that the relationship does not develop. No marks on the body, no overnight stays no more than 3 to 4 hours per meeting, no weekends or trips with someone else, and no more than once a month. I always have to know who she is with and where she is. She usually sends me a photo of the guy's driver's license so I can be sure, and that's if I even allow her to get to this point. All power is in my hands. Sam was both horrified and somewhat fascinated. He couldn't believe this was happening in real life to his best friend. And I can do this too if I want. And I don't need to ask her permission. She has to ask because she cheated and I remained faithful. To be honest, I only did this a couple of times, and the first time I made her find me a woman and persuade her to sleep with me. She didn't like it at all, but she must have felt the same way I did. Sam even seemed to understand this and nodded involuntarily. I didn't force her to look, but she was down when I was up, if you know what I mean. She was extremely unhappy, but she had to experience it for herself, although it is not exactly the same thing. I think she understood the rules much better after that. She followed them, but now she understood why I needed them. Jesse took another sip and then looked at Sam seriously. Now you know. I let my wife play sometimes, and I sometimes play myself, although much less often. I think this will change your perception of me, so let's deal with this right now. I can see from your face that you are disappointed in me. Sam sighed. He didn't know what to say. Or rather, he knew, but had no idea how to formulate it. Thinking feverishly, he took another long sip of his beer. Well, I can't say I'm not surprised. What you said is like a bomb. I thought you were happily married. Jesse interrupted him. We're still happily married, Sam. This is the most important conclusion. Of course, we didn't get here the easiest way, and there was and still is, to be honest, a lot of pain, but now we are here. She's mine, I know she's mine, and she did everything she could to make me believe it. The main thing is that at the moment it works for us. Sam pressed his lips to his teeth as he continued to stare into his glass, contemplating his choice of words. Okay, I don't quite believe it, but let's move on. I don't understand how you can come to terms with this. She gives away to others what should belong only to you. How can you survive this? Shouldn't this be something just between you two? I'm having a hard time, Jesse. I'm not sure I can agree with this. Well, yes, her betrayal was pretty disgusting, no question about it. But the question is how to move forward. Maybe we both learned something from the cheating and turned it into something that works. The reality of marriage vows is to protect the marriage, the relationship. If the relationship is strong and well built, then such vows, which in fact do not have much meaning, lose their significance. Our relationship was stronger than we thought, or less strong, depending on your point of view. In the end, she did cheat. But this was not in a situation where she was looking for a way out of the relationship. She was looking for something extra, on top of this relationship. I can't understand it, Jesse. I don't see it that way. A good relationship is when you don't need to look for something on the side, like sex or anything else. The whole point is that you satisfy each other. You don't need anyone else, because the one you want is already nearby, and vice versa. To me, this is the definition of a truly good marriage. Yeah, it looks great on a birthday card, Sam, but the reality for some people is different. You know, one size doesn't fit all. I mean, you're here with me now, right? We talk, and we have a relationship that is different from your relationship with your wife. When you and I talk about hunting, drinking, technology, and all sorts of bullshit that simply doesn't interest Janelle, it's not cheating on her. So you get different things from different relationships. You cannot have one relationship that meets all the needs you will have in life. This doesn't happen. This cannot be because women have their own needs and priorities that are different from men. It's kind of a continuation of that. Of course, it's different when it comes to sex, but the basics are the same. It's easy to say, I should never look outside myself in these matters, and that's fine, and in some ways it's true. But why does all relationships have to be like this? What if you can look for some excitement on the side without it jeopardizing your main relationship? Look, the whole point of vows is to avoid situations where temptation can arise, where love can flare up where it doesn't belong, right? To extend the duration of the relationship. If you can achieve the same goal in another way, what difference does it make? The difference, Jesse, is that it still might not work. Just saying it won't work doesn't mean it won't work. It's like putting a bowl of milk in front of a cat and expecting him not to drink. She's already broken the rules once. What's stopping her from doing it again? How can you trust her when she says, it's just physical, don't worry, and then goes off to bed with someone else? Well, Jesse admitted, nothing's stopping you, except after the marriage contract, and the knowledge that I will leave instantly as soon as I find out, and I will find out. Now I have been warned. I'm looking for it now. She then avoided responsibility because I completely trusted her. Now I don't trust anymore, at least not as much as I used to, at least not yet. But mainly because we've already been through this, and she's already realized that she doesn't want anyone else as a life partner, only as a sex partner. For a couple of hours, I found the same thing. While it's exciting to be with someone new, to dance that mating ritual, to find out what they look like naked, I don't really want to wake up with someone else. I like what I have. As they say, I have steak at home, but sometimes it's nice to have a Big Mac, and I can have both without consequences. Sam still didn't agree. I still don't think it's quite what you're describing, Jesse. The point is that she cheated, and in response you opened the gates, and now she can safely sleep with anyone. No guilt. This doesn't seem like a smart reward for cheating to me. Plus, she offered this only 4 months after she was caught. This is a scary red flag. I respect you and your intelligence, but if it were that easy, more people would do it. Society wouldn't condemn it so much. I wouldn't sit here and wonder what's wrong with you. Well, I can't speak for society, Sam, but I think a lot of them also believe that all blacks are lazy and Christianity is the only true religion. I don't think society has all the answers. I think personal, intimate, long-term relationships are much more complex than a few vows in a ceremony and infinitely more complex than the superficial rules that society imposes on how they should appear in public. I mean, we live in a society that promotes Catholic priests, men who have no experience with women, marriage, or long-term intimate relationships in general, who are not trained at all in this area, people who have dedicated their lives to the invisible friend in the sky who never shows up or does anything to prove their existence, and considers them to be the one you should go to when you have problems in your marriage. It doesn't seem to me like society knows how to set rules correctly. The reality is that my relationship with my wife and her relationship with me is what we think it is, not what society and popular culture have decided it should be. As long as we agree to the rules and don't hurt anyone with what we decide, I really don't care what anyone else thinks about it. If it works for us, who will judge it? Yes, I understand. An unconventional relationship isn't necessarily a bad thing. But let's be honest, Jesse, you got here through cheating. This is hardly the best basis for creating a new relationship, especially risky ones like these. And I'm not saying what anyone should or shouldn't do. I'm just worried about you. I think you're playing with fire, Jesse. I don't want you to get burned. Well, yes, that's a fair point. You're not wrong. But the thing is, Sam, without this new situation, I don't know if we would even be in a relationship. Maybe we would just go by inertia. Maybe we are doomed to failure. Maybe she'll find someone better than me. But what about this, Jesse? You're taking a huge risk. What if this happens? Jesse took a long sip of his beer and drained the glass. Do you really think that's going to happen, Sam? More beer? Looks like it won't bother you. Of course, yes. My turn, I think. Don't worry. That'll give you time to call Janelle and give her some interesting facts, right? Sam looked at him confusedly, then took out his phone, placed it on the far end of the table, and pretended to sit in his arms. Seriously, Jesse, this is big stuff. I don't understand how you can be so calm about this matter. I'm not calm at all, Sam. It's just, part of me is laying it all out in front of you to make sure I have everything in my head right, you know? I hope that I know what I'm doing, that I've thought it all through. But if I can answer that for you, it means I've really thought it through. Understand? Jesse smiled with the last sentence, then collected his empty beer glasses and headed to the bar. Sam sat there, contemplating what he had just heard. Conflicting thoughts swirled through his head, and he desperately tried to remember them so he could discuss them with Jesse. It was obvious to Sam that this experiment that Jesse had gotten involved in was doomed to fail. It was obvious that Jesse wasn't really over the betrayal and was willing to do anything to keep her around, even going so far as to let her sleep with other men. His close friend became a cuckold, and he liked it, but as a friend, Sam couldn't allow it. Jesse had to realize this. He had to make his friend understand it. Meanwhile, Jesse was waiting at the bar for another beer, and his thoughts were on how to make Sam understand that he had thought of all the angles. That he thought about it for a long time, as he and Deborah discussed her and his possible casual partners. How they made plans to keep their intimate relationship just between them. While he was technically fooled, so was she. That it was a choice they both made, and it worked so far. She has her old smile back all the time, and how hard she tries to make him happy more than ever. And it's not just guilt, she does it out of love. Out of gratitude that he gave her this freedom and trust that it wouldn't ruin their relationship, that she would remember who her chosen husband was, and that he would do the same. He had to explain to his friend that he had not suddenly gone crazy or that he had not succumbed to some ulterior motive on the part of his wife, that he's not desperate to agree to anything to keep her attention. The beer appeared, and he collected it, returning to the table. Ready for round two, he joked as he sat down across from Sam. Sam shrugged. The evening clearly did not go at all as he expected. He expected a tearful and angry Jesse, but instead he got a deep discussion about the meaning of marriage and what commitment is. Okay, there are still a lot of questions, or statements, whatever you like. Now Jesse shrugged in response. Let's. If I can't answer them, then yes, I'll have to reconsider the whole thing, obviously. What if it doesn't work? What if she or you find someone who makes her happier? What then? How would you rate it? At what point do you decide we need to stop this? Well, good question. I don't have a ready answer. I don't know, to be honest. I guess when do you feel there are warning signs? Isn't her desire to sleep with other men a warning sign? Sam asked in disbelief. Well, when you put it like that, without context, of course it is. But you need to have context. It's like saying, we should execute all murderers, without defining who the murderer is. Look, when you're about to propose to a girl, you know when it's time to ask that question, right? There are no clear rules about when to do this, right? You do it when a lot of factors come together and you think, yeah, I'm ready for this, right? And I guess the same thing happens when you decide to get a divorce. Or when you decide to cheat, Sam interrupted. Jesse sighed. Seriously, have we already reached the point of taking cheap shots? Well, Jesse, you have to admit, she was running behind your back, showed deep disrespect for you and your relationship. It's a hard blow for someone you have to trust implicitly. I'm not arguing with you, Sam, but I'm trying to make a general point, not a specific one. If I had said, yes, you are absolutely right, then my marriage would have been completely destroyed, and we would all have suffered pain, disappointment, and perhaps someday healed and moved on. But we did not take this path. We decided to change something, and so far it's working. Now, if you believe that what she did could not be overcome, then okay, you believe it. I don't. I'm still married, she still loves me, I still love her, we're still a couple. Your opinion about whether I should have left or punched someone in the face is irrelevant here, because it's about what I did, not what you think I should have done. If you can't understand that, then I think that's the end of our conversation, right? Okay, well, I'm not sure we see this the same way, Jesse, but okay. Let's move on. You say you're still married and she still loves you. How do you know this? How can you trust her? She has already betrayed you. Well, Sam, that's a really good question. I struggled with this too. After everything came out, she did everything she could to prove that she was where she said she was, location, and everything else to prove that she wasn't doing something else. Do I trust her as much as I used to? Honestly, no. Do I want to trust her again? Yes. Will I reach the same level of trust that I had before the betrayal? I don't know. Hope. But one thing I've learned recently is that trust is a choice. At least partly. When you don't trust someone, it's not a choice. You can't bring yourself to trust if you clearly don't trust. But if you're somewhere in the middle, trust is a conscious act. You say to yourself, I'm going to trust you. All this nonsense about trust but verify is nonsense, because trust is precisely about not checking. That's the whole point of trust. But I want to trust her, so I'm moving in that direction. Am I 100% successful? Not yet, no. There are consequences when you betray someone, especially your spouse, and it is foolish to think that there are none. But at the end of the day, we'll never go back to the way things were unless I give her a chance to earn that trust back, right? Do I trust her completely? No. But this is precisely why a postnuptial agreement and other conditions exist, to create conditions under which she wants to regain my trust. Not that I think she doesn't want it anyway. I think she was willing to give everything to earn this chance. But this agreement, it kind of cements all this. Give me something to hold on to. Gives me back some of my self-respect. But I didn't answer your original question about what would happen if she found someone better than me. The thing is, Sam, that's the whole point of it all. I'm trying not to be afraid of it. The point is for her and I to get out there and maybe experience it. And we trusted each other that if or when this happened, it would not override everything else in our relationship. If what she says about her short fling is true, then it doesn't hold up because she's already seen the value in our relationship, and it has little to do with sex. Sam considered Jesse's words as he took another sip of his beer. He suddenly noticed that instead of vivid emotional reactions, he began to consider all this from a more detached, analytical point of view. He still reacted to some phrases purely emotionally, allowing his I man self to speak first, but what Jesse said began to be interesting if you looked at it with an open mind. Although he did not agree, the discussion itself became interesting. What if it's something you can't compete with? I don't know, to be honest. I mean, she has the same problem. This is a two-way street. You see, people change over time. Your desires, priorities, they still change. At some point you wake up and suddenly you can't stand her snoring anymore. What then? That doesn't mean we have all the answers. But I hope we believe that our relationship is worth more. Of course, we take risks, but so far the rewards outweigh the risks. Jesse took another sip of his beer and suddenly raised his hand to stop Sam as he was about to speak. Before you go on, I have to say, I don't think this is for everyone. Not at all. Most people are too programmed about what marriage is and what it should be. Society has set two simple rules for what marriage is or should be, and we all measure our relationships by these common standards. You should always be in love, be romantic, never cry, make your wife feel like she's the only one in the world and she can never be tired, should always put your career first, and all that other crap. The modern perception of marriage is like a bad 1950s show. If only people even think about marriage. This is all completely unrealistic for today's world, man. That's how it is. They can't see beyond that, or don't have the emotional maturity to handle something like that. Let me be clear. We understand that we are putting ourselves at emotional risk. This is why we have restrictions on time spent with others, no days off, etc. You don't build emotional relationships, you build purely physical ones. Most people can't separate the two, and that's okay because it doesn't mean it's not great if you can't. It's just the way some people are wired. Look at you. Jesse pointed at Sam. You are clearly against what I am talking about. You can't imagine a situation where you would share Janelle with someone, right? That would be an insult to everything you believe in, which is what marriage and long-term commitment means, right? I understand that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It wouldn't work for you, and that's okay. I'm not trying to suggest that we are somehow more advanced in what relationships are than you. Not at all. I have deep respect for you, your marriage, and your relationship with your wife. I'm also not trying to convince you that what we are doing is the only right way. This is wrong. It's just something that works for us because the doors accidentally opened thanks to Deb cheating. These words immediately caused a reaction from Sam. What about the emotional impact? You can't convince me for a second that it's okay for you when she goes out to sleep with someone, that you don't care when she comes home after having sex with someone else. Seriously, Jesse, I don't mean to be rude, although I might want to, but where is your self-respect? Jesse sighed and looked straight at Sam as if daring him to argue. Yes, I knew it would come to this at some point. A man's attractiveness to another man. Look, Sam, I don't own it, okay? The tone with which you speak is as if your wife is someone you dragged into the cave by her hair. We are no longer primitive people. So many relationships these days seem to be more about conspicuous possession. You can't do this or that because it will reflect badly on me. It's not about what the other person wants, but about the perception of how it will affect them. Do you think I have no self-respect because I'm not 100% on the same page as you when it comes to what self-respect is? Look, to answer your other question, yes, it bothers me when she leaves for another man. Of course, this worries any guy, I understand. But it's about giving her something, not just what I might feel. My feelings are as important as hers, so when she gets home, she has already taken a shower and cleaned herself up. It's not like I wanted to have sex with her right away. Would you like to? But she wants to hug, wants to know that our relationship is still there, and she should do the same when I go out to have fun. It's two-way traffic. She stays at home while I am having fun. I don't do it as often as she does, but I'm still sure she has moments of doubt when I'm not around. You turn on the TV, find something to do, and try not to think about it too much. We don't talk about what she does unless it's important. Although I have to say, one of the things that has happened is that anything new that someone tries with you becomes suspicious. So, we're in bed, having sex, and she suggests some new position. The first thing that comes to mind is, where did she learn that? And it ruins the moment a little. The first time this happened, my mood instantly disappeared. But we have learned to deal with it. Now she says, I just made this up. What do you think about it? And if it's something she learned on the side, she'll tell me about it when she gets home, not in the moment. So far, there have only been a few such cases, but this is already enough. Oh, I should have mentioned one more rule. Nothing for anyone else that she didn't do to me first. I'm not going to have her after someone else has used her body. It would be disrespectful, and I'm not going to put up with it, and she knows it. She even left one man once when he disrespected me, and she didn't hide it. What we give to each other is a gift and should be accepted as such. She gets the opportunity to have fun on the side, and I get the same opportunity. But all this only works if there is respect. Of course, she hasn't been very good at it lately, but that's why there are all these rules and agreements to make sure she follows them. Trust me, she's walking on thin ice and she knows it. To be honest, this ice is thinner than ever. But she wants to ride, and it doesn't cost me anything to let her. How can you say that, Jesse? How can you say it doesn't cost you anything? She gives away what was meant only for you. Sex is intimacy. Someone else out there is probably grinning, thinking, why does she need to look for it somewhere else? How do you explain that to yourself? Sam was really interested in the answer. He couldn't imagine a situation in which he would put up with that. Jesse was in no hurry to answer. Well, I don't know. Why do I care what some random guy thinks about me? I know who I am. Deborah knows who I am. You know who I am. My parents and my brother know who I am. All the people who mean something to me know who I am. Why do I care what some people think about me? Of course, if he decides to pick on me when I'm around, he'll have to pay for it. But other than that, what effect does it have on me? To be honest, I'm much more worried that some of her entertainment partners might turn out to be our new clients. This, in my opinion, is much more worrying. Sam didn't think about it. Yes, he said thoughtfully, yes, this could really affect us all. Right, but the same thing could happen if I were lonely, or if you were lonely. This does not mean that such a thing could never happen. But still, she is strictly obliged to choose partners who cannot get into our environment. Sam shrugged. I hope this is enough. Me too, Jesse chuckled. Look, we're still together, and I get my share of fun too. It's like you're focusing on, I'm letting her have her fun, but it's a two-way street. Although the same rules about not getting too close to our surroundings apply to me, I'm in on this too. Okay, that was a bad word. Sam took another deep sip, processing everything he had heard. He was surprised that his initial disgust had passed, and he now viewed the whole thing as a kind of anthropological experiment. He wouldn't do anything like that himself, no way. But it was. Not exactly exciting, but there was a kind of voyeurism about it that made it interesting to hear about Jesse and Deborah doing it. I don't know, Jesse. I can't help but feel like you're heading towards a cliff. I know I couldn't do it. I'm not made to share. If Janelle even looks at another man, I'll rip his head off and throw her out. That's right, I understand that. Jealousy is a big part of what I have to deal with. Honestly, I don't like the idea of someone else playing with my toys. I don't enjoy it like some guys do. I don't want to know about it unless it's something important. But I try to think of it as a difficult game of volleyball. The more time passes, the less I worry about it. I won't say I don't care at all, but I'm okay with it in the sense that it's something we can do and still be okay with each other. Sam had one more question he just had to ask. What if you have children? This whole thing seems crazy to me, but if it's just between the two of you, then fine. But what if this is not the case? Jesse took a deep breath and replied, We talked about it. This worries me. We really want to start a family. If Deborah gets pregnant, we stop it. This is what we have come to. And then every year on the anniversary, we will discuss whether we want to do it again, with new rules added to protect children. You see, Sam, since we started this, we've met other people with unconventional lifestyles. And yes, I admit it's unconventional, it is, but I don't think it's wrong. And some of these people have children and everything works out for them. Many of them take a long-term break when they have children. We'll discuss this. Me and Deborah. Sam looked sideways at Jesse and said, "Well, I have to ask one more question. Are you sure there is no despair in this? Look at it from my perspective. You say she cheated, and instead of throwing her out, she can now do it with your permission. Well, you understand what it looks like?" "Yeah, I know," Jesse said, grinning lightly. "Looks like I'm a wuss, huh? It's like I'm submitting. But Sam, you know me. What do you think? Do you think I would do this? That I'm henpecked with a wife who doesn't respect me?" Sam sat motionless. This answer was deceptively simple, but had far-reaching consequences. He really knew Jesse. He knew that he would not tolerate such nonsense. So there was only one answer, despite how it looked. "No, Jesse, I don't think so," he said simply, looking Jesse straight in the eyes. "I don't believe for a second that you are some pathetic husband under his thumb. I'll be honest, I don't understand this at all, and it's 180 degrees from what I consider a good marriage to be. But, like you said, this is your marriage, not mine." "Okay," Jesse answered just as simply. He raised his glass for Sam to clink with it, which he did. "Look, I'm not trying to convert you to our custom model. I know this isn't what you think of as a healthy relationship, but it works for us. I am the same as I was yesterday or the day before. I don't expect you to suddenly want to swap wives or anything like that. It's a separate thing, and frankly, Sam, I don't want to talk about it anymore because it has nothing to do with our professional lives, right? I'm sure you will discuss this with Janelle, but please make sure she understands that this is a private matter between Deb and me. Okay? And if she sees her again, well, she should know who she's seeing. And damn it, she might see me with someone else. The same rules apply." Sam nodded, thinking, "Damn, Janelle and I are going to have a long talk when I get home." "So, have you found out everything? Are we okay?" Jesse asked. "Yes, I think so. But look, if you start having parties with whips and motor oil and women doing things to each other, I want pictures, or it didn't happen, okay? Agreed?" And then Jesse knew everything would be okay, because Sam has a sense of humor again. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.